So these were the changes that were at the select board meeting, you guys went over at the last select board meeting?
So we're live whenever you wanna start now.
Okay.
About 1 minute.
We're live, you said?
Yes, so watch your language.
So we probably should wait till 6:30. People are sitting at home, they're not gonna
About 1
turn on
minute.
until
Yep.
6:30.
Just dying to do that.
Highlight of their evening.
Might be more entertaining than the world news.
Yeah,
Yes,
same old,
yes.
same old.
Well, that's what I printed it, it's two
I was
sections.
almost as disappointed with the Chiefs win as I was with the Patriots loss.
That's just
in years
reversed.
past. It was depressing.
It was
I didn't want them to win. It's funny how that works.
I can honestly say I don't even know who won or played, and I don't care.
Oh, I talked to the.
I thought it was a decent football game.
Yeah,
It was nice
it
to see
was.
that it
It
wasn't
was
like a
first half.
runaway
Yeah,
by
yeah,
one person
yeah.
or another, so.
First half
That's
was,
true.
I thought the second half was a little boring.
I was, that was, second half was past my bedtime, so I was only half paying attention by that point anyways.
All right, I got 6:30, so we'll go ahead and convene this meeting. It is 6:30 on Monday, February the 12th. This is the Budget Committee convening for its third and probably final meeting to review the 2024 proposed budget for our town. The select board met last Tuesday and made 5 changes to the budget they're proposing, and that's why we're meeting tonight, to review those changes and see if we want to amend, adjust, revote our recommendations to either the same number or a different number. So the 5 changes they
Can I
made,
interrupt, Milton? Can we say the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
be happy to.
Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the 5 changes they made was, there was a line under administration, dues and subscriptions, in which the actual was higher than what was originally stated. Under municipal buildings, the security actual was higher than what was previously stated. Under planning and codes, dues and subscriptions, the actual turned out to be higher than what was stated. Under the fire department's budget, health insurance was higher than was actually stated. Under solid waste hauling, the actual was higher than stated, so the select board have proposed a new amount. So we'll need to review those 5 line items, and then a review of the fund balance and the amount that the select board is now proposing to transfer. So why don't we just, unless there's any questions, I'm just gonna go down this list.
I have questions, but I can wait until we get to each item.
Okay,
I have questions as well, and kind of an overarching question. I went and plugged numbers into the spreadsheet from what we did, and it was unclear to me what we decided on one of the Union Church numbers.
yeah, so I was gonna have that discussion when we talked about the fund transfer, unless you wanna take that out of order, or relate to the other 5 line items.
Well, okay, my basic concern is, if my numbers, and I think the numbers are right, the budget increase for spending is 9.8% over actual last year. Now, that's from the numbers that we used. And I entered the new I entered the 4 changes that Jerry had given us into the actuals. So I updated the actuals, updated our numbers, and on this spreadsheet, on the spreadsheet, the PDF, on page 14, I think it's 14, the amount transferred, what do they call it? They call it
Capital reserve?
transfers out, 99,800. That was 516, I think.
Yep.
516,836, which was the original number that the select board gave us for the capital reserve account request. But we changed that. And it never got changed in the spreadsheet or PDF.
Well, we don't have a column anymore that says budget committee and select board. So I think this is still just representing the select board. I don't think it's representing our numbers at all.
Right, their numbers are here.
I believe that's
And
correct.
Neil, is there a reason why we can't save this discussion until we get through the 5 budget lines that I aforementioned?
I guess, well, only this. I want people to be aware that the budget's growing a lot this year, a lot, maybe 10%. We don't know exactly because of what school and county are going to give us, but it could be 10% easily. That's my only point. But yes, we can do the rest of it.
Okay, I do, because I do plan to cover those questions. Any other general questions? All right, so if we can just go, I'd like to go to the administrative budget, which would be on page 6 out of 15 from the information sent to us from the town office. So the one change is line 20-7354, dues and subscriptions. Because that line changed, it means the total budget would have changed to now be 473,656. Does either Jerry or Joe want to make any comment?
That's the number based on new actuals that arrived in here. So, that's essentially it, with a little bit of extra in there for projection for next year. So the actuals number went up.
So we don't know what
Well,
the
300.
dues are for this year.
No, went up $334 from the last time we voted on that line, that particular line.
Was that one subscription or?
I don't know, when Mark did the adjustments, that's just what the end of the year was. Because we still pay December bills in January, so when we're putting this budget together, we don't necessarily have actuals.
So all of these dues and subscriptions are yearly.
Yes,
Okay. And and it's still a guess for what 2024 is gonna be.
right. Based on what the actuals was for '23, for 14,166, I just bumped it up to 14,500.
Yes.
Silly question, what are dues and subscriptions? What does that represent?
Dues and subscriptions, they're dues to like Allen's code enforcement.
No, that's in a different section.
Well, right, but in general.
As an example.
The notes on this is GP cog and MMA.
Yeah, GP cog is MMA, so that's the big one. That's the 14, yeah, so we pay dues to MMA, we pay dues to GP cog.
Okay.
And they're pretty pricey, like GP cog's like $8,000 to belong to that. But they gave us an $8,000 grant last year too, so it's kind of a wash, so they're good to have around. So the bottom, so the amount that it went up, like I said, is $334 from the last time we met.
Well, I'm seeing on one spreadsheet, it was, the number was 471,156. This was the spreadsheet that Neil made, just adding the column. And now it's 473,656, so that's more than $334 difference.
I don't know about Neil's spreadsheet.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
started at
know.
471,156.
It's not my spreadsheet, it's the town spreadsheet.
Right.
It's what you sent us.
All I did was add a column
Right.
showing the actuals. So initially, we had been talking 471,156. We had a motion that failed, which was gonna decrease that by 5,000. So I believe we voted on 471,156, and now you're saying that the budget is 473,656.
Yeah, because dues went up $2,500.
I thought you said $334.
From the actuals.
Different line.
Oh,
There's 2 dues and subscriptions.
I think the difference is actual to budget.
Right.
So the actual in your printout, if I'm correct, is $9,784. And he's saying now the actual is actually $14,166, so he added the 300 and change to make it 14,500.
Just to round it up, yeah.
But the budget increase for that line item was 2,500.
and that came from what?
Well, dues and subscriptions originally was 12,000, and now it's 14,500.
Why am I seeing that? Subscription, 12,000 was last year, 12,000 was
Budgeted for this year,
Yep.
and he upped it to 14,500.
Okay. Got it. But that still doesn't focus on my question. So the budget that, the amount that we approved was, that we voted on,
Yeah.
was the number that was, the original number of 471,
Yeah.
156.
And if you add 2,500 to that, you get 473,656.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 471,156 after we added another line for building and repairs. We
Right,
were-
5,000.
We originally presented 466,156, we added,
Yeah, that was already, yeah,
$1,000.
that one's not the one that's
Okay,
confusing.
good, so you guys got that one.
Any general questions, or I'll accept it to a motion?
I'll make a motion that we recommend approval of $473,656 for administration.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so the motion made by John and seconded by Alan is that we appropriate $473,656 for the administration budget. Discussion.
We're only discussing that one more, correct?
No, now you just, we have to vote on the budget. So what's on the table right now is 473,656. As if what happened last week didn't happen.
And this is still planning on not being raised, but being transferred.
That is correct.
Part of me does feel enough other areas were padded that I'm not sure that it needed to be reviewed again. I think it probably would have all worked out, but the fact that it's not being raised, it's being transferred, I don't think that's a sword to die on, or whatever to die on.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, the motion has been moved and seconded that we appropriate $473,656 for the administration budget. All those in favor? All those opposed? So it's 6-2. Okay. All right, next is under municipal buildings, line 21-7362 labeled security. And that has been changed, revised. It looks like it was revised from 1,600 to 1,800, based on new actuals. John or Jerry, want to address that?
Yeah, the actuals come in at 1728 this year for 2023.
So this one confused me a little bit because security doesn't usually change. You know what you're being charged each month. So what, did they go up? Did they change? What happened?
I don't know. There's
Or do you
something going
just-
on. The actual came in at 1728, we had budgeted 16. I don't think it's gonna go down, so.
So I guess I'm trying to figure out why some of these lines are based on last year plus inflation instead of looking at the actual bill and multiplying it out, because we know what it costs us. It's not like it's a gas bill or it's a set price bill.
I don't believe it is. I don't know. I mean, this is the number that came in under that code for the total.
What are we actually paying for?
Security of like the buildings, there's an alarm that goes off, like we have security here, security at Union Church, security at town office. It's all the codes to come in and out.
So considering that, I'm sorry.
I was gonna ask, so what changed from last year to this year that it doubled?
Well,
Did we get any-
again, when things got entered into Trio a couple years ago, they didn't get entered correctly. So it's hard to know. We didn't really have good numbers to begin with. We're trying to like hone that, get that, so we do have good numbers.
So the last year's security included the Union Church, but we probably won't be responsible for securing the Union Church this coming year.
Yeah, probably, but you don't know. Nothing else has changed right now. We don't know that. We could still own it, in other words.
But the odds are we're not going to.
Right, I totally agree,
Right,
but right now we don't, so.
right.
So during the year, if we don't own it, is there gonna be a credit? Will there be a credit?
We just won't apply anything to it. So
There's-
we won't pay that bill,
The bill should go down.
Well, I guess that's fine.
at least.
Credit's not the right word.
Right.
Security in general should go down if we're not paying
Right.
for the security at the church, that's exactly right.
But I guess if we are trying to hone it to be a little bit more accurate, I think there are lines here that we can, especially now that we're into the middle of February, we know what the 2024 rates are. So, it's just food for thought for next year, because I think some of these can be based on looking at the actual bill for 2024 versus looking at the totals from a year ago.
But if it gets coded to that same line and that's what the total is, then that's what the total is, right? I mean, it wouldn't be anything else getting coded to that line, or it shouldn't be.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying is it's a contracted service. So you've been informed what your contracted rate is for 2024.
I don't know as if it is a contracted service. I haven't seen a contract for the security.
Somebody signed one at one point in time that agreed to pay a certain amount
Yeah, I don't know
while you
that.
receive service,
I don't know that.
so.
My recollection, it could have changed, but up until last year, we were with a with a company.
Yeah, we changed companies last year, I believe, or halfway.
We had to
through the
pay
year before.
$240 a year for the Union Church for monitoring. I don't know if that's changed. So, I mean, if that was correct, and we're no longer gonna be securing Union Church, the savings would be $240.
Mill, I'll make a motion that we hold to our 22,235 that we had voted on previously.
I second the motion.
And the reason I say that is that we've been talking about possibility of Union Church not becoming property of the town of Durham, and I'm quite sure that will be the wishes of the town, and therefore that price will drop next year.
So it's been moved by Alan and seconded by Neil that we, what had we?
22235.
That we stick with our previous,
Motion of 22,235.
correct, 22,235. And discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I think the question would be, when do we actually turn over Union Church? I mean, I think it could be 6 months, could be towards the end of the year. I'm looking at these two to say, because we don't really have any written agreement, or, we're writing. So I'm gonna say, I'm thinking we've already got 3 months in, but 4 months in by the time the town meets. It'll be at least a couple months after that before we go to closing, do all that other kind of stuff. So I'm not sure the savings are gonna be a full year's worth, is what I'm trying to say. Now, it's not a lot of money in this particular case, than some of the others. We're gonna have, there will be a 6-8 month prorating where we're actually gonna be paying things for Union Church until it's officially handed over. Electricity, so on and so forth.
I am seeing that the budget is lower than what the actual was for this year, about $130 or so.
Yeah, but heating was taken
Heating was taken out, transferred to electricity. So electricity was increased.
and telephone and internet.
Other discussion?
Can you remind us why the telephone and the internet went from 7,000 down to 650?
What's the question?
Line ending 7
This-
7210.
Some of that may have included the town office, but we broke the town office out. So this is all buildings except for,
Thank you. Yeah, so telephone here.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, been moved and seconded that we appropriate $22,235 towards the municipal buildings account. All those in favor? All those opposed? It's a vote 7-1. How many read all my notes? Moving on to the planning and codes budget. That would be page 8 out of 15, and I direct your attention to line 27-7354. Dues and subscriptions. And that change looks like it was 600. That one looks like it went from 600 to 1,500. Joe or Jerry, want to explain?
The only thing that I can explain to you with that is that the actual was 1280. That came in after the adjustment.
So does our new code enforcer, because of his, certifications, thank you. Does he have more dues and subscriptions
He
than
does.
past code enforcers?
I don't know what the past code enforcement had. There's also, because we're doing tax maps online, we had to pay a subscription to Esri account that I didn't even know about until at the very end of December we paid it. That was a $550 subscription. That wasn't accounted for last year because we didn't know about it. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Mr. Chair, if I may, also, the code enforcement is due to planning and code enforcement.
Right.
So his dues that he paid last year would have been under administration. So all of his stuff has been transferred to planning and, what do we call that, planning and code enforcement?
Yeah. And
So it's maybe, that may be involved in it.
it could be, what I do is I look at what the actual adjustments were and just adjust it from there.
So to the committee, we're looking at a $900 increase. What we voted on was $123,600, and now the requested budget is $124,500. That would be $900 difference increase.
Is there a reason why, I'm trying to find it again, which code line is this?
Yeah, it would be,
27.
for dues and subscriptions, it would be 27-7354.
So it's 1280 is what was actual. Is there a reason why you chose 1,500, just
Just round it up.
magical numbers? Okay. Well, yeah, that's what I was thinking, why not 1,300 or?
But and you're fine, you can do
or-
that.
No, I'm just asking
No,
you
no,
why
no.
you chose that number. I was just, if you knew something we didn't know as
No.
far as dues amounts that have gone up or anything.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move to recommend $124,300 for total planning and code enforcement, which is a $1,300 budget for dues and subscriptions.
Second.
You can second but not vote.
Yes.
So the amount was $124,300.
300.
And you said that was a $1,300 increase?
No, $1,300 total.
Oh.
$20.
Seven for that line.
$700 increase.
So it's been a motion from Neil and seconded by Alan that we appropriate $124,300 for planning and code enforcement. Discussion. So your $200 difference between your motion and what the select board is proposing is, how'd you come up with 200?
That was the joke.
So, gee, make me the bad guy.
It's over last year's actual,
Right.
a little over last year's actual.
200 over last year's
No,
actual.
it's $20 over last year's actual.
Instead of rounding up to 1,500, he elected to round up to 1,300.
Got it. Other discussion?
When are these dues and subscriptions normally due?
They're throughout the year. Like I said, I just got the Ezra unit in December. A lot of times they're due July, like in the beginning of the fiscal year. But they're, like some of mine, the main town city managers, that might come in May. They're just scattered throughout the year.
Alright. And we don't really know how much they went up from 22 to 23.
No, there are like formulas that drive some of them, like it depends on how much you make and this, that, and the other thing. They send a bill. Yeah.
How much you make affects them?
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, the motion is to appropriate $124,300 to planning and code enforcement. All those in favor? All those opposed?
I will abstain.
I have to abstain.
All right, so we just get this.
So it's
4, 5, it would be 5,
3,
1,
2,
2.
3, 2, 2. I believe Donna said nay.
Right, I got hers a nay.
And I said nay.
Oh, I can see that. So that would be 4, 2, 2.
Yep.
All right, for the record, so it's John. John, and Alan, abstain. All right, so the motion passes. Moving on to the fire department budget. Public safety, fire department. And draw your attention to line 30-7055, 7055, which is health insurance. And the change is health insurance. It was 1, 2, 3, 4. It went from 2,225. Now the budget is 2,500. So a difference of $225.
There was no change in the actual number. Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move that
No change in the actual number.
the actual number was 2,449 from the beginning. That number hasn't changed.
Well, which number, Neil?
For this,
FY 2023, we were originally given, it was 2449. And that's what, on my, at least my sheet hand notes says.
Yeah,
So
right.
what it is.
Correct.
So it looks like there was an error in the budget line. He wants to bump it up to $2,500.
225?
2,500.
Yeah, you're right. So, kind of mess.
So I want to make a motion, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
that we recommend $603,845 for the fire department.
Wait, 603,
Yeah, 845,
845.
which increases the health insurance line to $2,500.
a second? Phyllis? That increased health insurance. All right, so it's been, the motion was by Neil and seconded by Phyllis that we appropriate $603,845 for the fire department budget. Discussion. Yes.
I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but we know what our health insurance fees are. That's a January to December calendar year. So what are they for 2024 for the fire department? Because that's what the budget should be now.
I don't have that information by handy, I'm just going on the actuals. That's what I'm guessing it's pretty close to the actuals, but it is.
Well, the actuals was last year, and I know for my business, it went up $100 per person, which I can't do the math that quickly in my head, but mine went up about, yeah, probably 17%, almost 20%.
But they didn't go up much last year, it stayed pretty tight.
Correct. That's what I mean. From
So-
23 to 24, it went up about 17% for my business.
Right, but here it didn't though. So, I don't, not a whole lot.
You mean 22 to 23?
The budget was,
Stayed flat.
23 was,
Okay, I guess that's what I'm saying, is I know for my business, 2022 to 2023, it didn't change all that much,
right,
but it was felt in my budget for 2024 because it went up a lot. So, I just,
do you want to increase it?
no, I want to know what, I want
I
to
don't-
know
I
what
don't-
reality
That's what I was
is.
thinking.
I
I'm
don't-
looking at this
no, I
as
don't know.
a-
It sounded like.
I'm looking
I
at
want to
it
know
as-
what reality is, because you guys have reality. You didn't bring it with you, but you have reality.
But yeah, I'm looking at it flat here, you know, it's 2463 actual in
Right.
2022, and then we budgeted 2525. This year actual is 2449, and it looked like what we came in with was 2225, which probably was a little shy, which is why this number has been bumped up to 2500.
But this is also health insurance just for the fire department,
Yep.
which
It's a supplemental,
Chief
like-
Tripp doesn't,
Gets it like an Affleck type supplemental.
Chief Tripp just gets, he gets it in, it gets cash. So how does that get
That's in
calculated?
that's in his different thing. I don't know, I'd have to ask Mark how we do this. We go pretty much on the actuals.
All right, then I'm not gonna recommend an increase since there's a lot
Okay.
you guys don't know.
We don't know all the details for every number, that's correct, that's
Yeah.
a lot to try to
So,
remember.
Other discussion? Seeing none, the motion is to appropriate $603,845 for the fire department. All those in favor? All those opposed? So it'd be 5, 2, and 1. I abstain. And opposed would be Donna and Phyllis. Okay. Now on to solid waste. And that would be page 11 out of 15. And the line that has changed is 42-7231. The amount that we previously presented and voted on was $350,000. The select board is now recommending a budget of $380,000, an increase of $30,000. Jerry or Joe, please?
So the actual will come in at 361,304. If they go up 5% every year, or whatever the CPI is, Consumer Price Index for hauling trash, whatever's higher. So if you add the 5% to the 361, it's about 18,000. This one truly is very difficult to nail down because of tonnage, tipping fees,
So, Mr. Chairman, they had discussion on this at the select board meeting, and Jerry's original recommendation was 375, if I'm not mistaken, which made sense to me because the pricing is fixed for the rest of this year, and then 6 months next year, we'll get an increase of, I guess, 5% of CPI, whatever it is. So I think 375 is a good number, and I'm going to recommend that, I won't move that.
So making a motion is for 375,000. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, so Neil, and Jill, second, and this is for, three.
Mr. Chairman?
Well, 1 second, 375.
Yeah.
Did you want to change your motion?
I guess we need to make the number the total solid waste, right,
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
right.
which is 389.
So, Evan, I need you to take back your second,
I take back.
and you'd like to redo your motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we recommend $389,000 for solid waste.
389,000 even,
Yes.
and that would be 375 for hauling and
2 for tags, 12 for bulky waste.
2 plus 12, so a total of 389. Do I have a second?
I'll
All
second.
right, so Jill and Neil. All right, so the motion by Neil, which was seconded by Jill, is that we appropriate a total of $389,000 for solid waste, broken down, $375,000 for hauling, $2,000 for tags, and $12,000 for bulky waste day. Discussion.
Well, if you take the 361,304 and you do it an increase of 5% for half the year, you multiply it by 1.025, and I come up with 336 versus 375, so I'm thinking it's maybe a little bit lower.
Yeah.
Do you
It
follow
was
me?
a swag. Divide 361 by 12.
No, I took 361,304.
Divide by 12.
Jerry added a 5% increase, which came to 379, so you rounded it to 380. But if you do it by 2.5%, because you're only going half the year, it'd come to 370, 336.
Yeah, that math doesn't work. It's 5% or whatever they charge us for 6 months, plus whatever we have now for 6 months. It's not 2.5%. That math doesn't.
Okay, so
Calculate.
361,304 divided by 12, that's per month, right? So 3108.1667 times 6 months times 1.05 would be 189,684 plus half of 361. Can you write that number down? 189,684. Okay, so hold on. So 361,304 divided by 2, 186,552 plus 370,336. Apparently it does work out.
Yeah, you're right, it does.
So I think we're still high.
370. If the tonnage doesn't change, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay with 370.
Well, 370, you have to go like 370, 400.
John?
And then add the other items.
And I'm confused by the math, so this may just be, but last year, the number 361 came about because the first 6 months were 2022 prices, then the next, so it's maybe more than 5% is what I'm trying to say here. So the first half of last year, we were probably paying 10% less than what we paid for this, for what we think we're gonna have to pay this year, if if that makes sense. So last year, the first June, or January through June was on a 2022 price, then it went up 5%. And so, I'm not sure that 5% covers it, but my math may be crap, so.
Jill?
The contract that we were given for the next 5 years, I have written down from watching the meetings, was gonna be $372,498 per year for 5 years was the bid estimate. Is that bid an increase from what our last bid was?
And that 372 is the first year of the contract, not 372
For 5 years?
Right.
So that's why I think 375 should cover us, because it's more than what our first half of the year is gonna be. And it's only for half a year, so that covers us for this year unless, and it should cover us for this year plus a little bit, unless before we got the bill, we've had such an influx of residents that we expect our tonnage to go way up. Has that happened?
There's people coming into town, yeah.
Have we built so many new
No, it's
houses
hard to
since
know.
we asked for the bid
Right,
that
but-
we know it's gonna be going up a
No,
lot?
we don't know, because we don't
Right.
know what these people are doing with their garbage and that sort of thing. You know, we just go on the numbers that we have.
Any other discussion? Yes, John?
Is it 372 that Jill mentioned, is that locked in, or that's if,
No,
that's if it's 1 million tons of garbage, it's 372, if it's 1,000,001, it's 380?
Yeah.
So then they assume some growth rate, I guess, in tons of garbage,
Yeah,
over from 23 to 24, so. I don't know how much garbage we're gonna have.
right, that's the unknown.
My other question is what happens, seemed like last year or 2 years ago, we went over in garbage and we had to
They're gonna either
go to the town meeting and ask, like fire
ask for
did this year.
a spent article, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's what'll happen, is
right.
the more that gets thrown out, I mean, the bill's gonna show up. And so, I mean, this is an estimate, regardless of what number you put in here, it's an estimate on how much is gonna get thrown out in town. So either stop putting things in the bag, or the price is gonna go up as we add people, add stuff to the bag. It's a, so,
But the 60-gallon trash barrel is not coming this year.
No.
Okay.
And the recycle market could improve too.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of variables, I mean, so it's hard, like I said, it's hard to nail down. If you underfund it, the worst case scenario is you just ask for the money in the next year.
Any other discussion?
I would just say that $5,000 is like 1% of the trash budget. And I don't think that's, we kind of ask people to use a very fine pencil on a lot of these things, so. I guess I'm in favor of 380, but the motion's been done.
Well, this is going back to the select board to make their final decisions soon.
Other discussion? Seeing none, the motion is to appropriate $389,000 for solid waste, broken down as $375,000 for hauling, $2,000 for tags, and $12,000 for bulky waste day. All those in favor? Unit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All those opposed? 2 votes, 2. That was, okay. And that brings us to the last item, and that's the discussion of the fund balance. Fund balance. And so that would bring us to page,
I think that's right in the beginning.
well, 14 out of 15, you could refer to 14, page 14 out of 15. You could also.
That is page 1 out of 15.
Or page 1 out of 15. So the change for some updated information was, I'll let Jerry speak on this. The bids came in today for doing a reval for the town, and so that is one reason why. So I'm pretty confident. I can't say with any. I can't predict the future, but I'm guessing that the select board are going to revisit the amount they have currently budgeted based on the numbers that Jerry will be telling them tomorrow evening. So they have that to discuss, what he got for bids for the assessing, and we have to discuss, because we left it out of our voting last week, the $99,543 donation for the Union Church to bring their total donation to $31,000. So Jerry, do you want to start with what you got for the bids for the reval?
Yeah, so we got those today. Donna's looking them over, but for purposes tonight, the estimate to do the reval is $220,000 to be completed in 2027.
220,000.
Yeah.
And what were we thinking, what were we like?
180.
60
I was thinking like,
We were
We
thinking
we
200.
budget 200.
That's
What
what
would you,
that's what the budget committee recommended, right?
the budget committee recommended putting 140 in the assessing. You've already got 60 to make the 200.
Okay, and did the select board agree to that?
They haven't,
Change?
they haven't voted or this, no, because they were waiting for this RFP to come back.
We knew this was gonna come in today, and you guys would see it first and make a decision on where you want to go with your number based on the estimate, and then we would take it from there.
Oh, I guess what I'm saying is we already went up from what the budget recommended, or from what the select board recommended
Yes.
originally.
Yep.
And you guys didn't chat about that at your last
It made no
select board
sense to
meeting?
until we got the actual number. So you guys are seeing the number first, so I'd recommend talking about it and seeing what you're thinking. And then we'll talk about it tomorrow evening.
Seems to me that we did have the church conversation in that total.
That's what we did too, because I remember asking.
All right,
we
so
talked
I'd
about
like to
it.
just focus on the reval number for a moment. Neil, you have a question or comment?
what's the straight up?
Yeah, I would, I'm not gonna make a motion, but just conversationally, I would want to do the total bill.
Yeah, I
The
agree.
220, the 225?
Even though we're not doing it until 27?
What's that?
Even though we're not doing it until 27?
We're just
It's
taking
sitting
it
in
out
the
of one
bank.
savings account and putting into another savings account
Yeah.
to make sure that we don't have to raise it between now and
If they can do it next year, then fine.
There'd also be the option of, instead of moving, so you wanted to move
140, because there's already
140,
60
so
in
that we
it.
need another 20 to 460. So the option, sounds like proposing is that we would do all that in this year, but naturally, there's also the option of you could do 80 and 80 this year and next year. I mean, is there that money's still gonna be there, is there any
You
urgency?
can't guarantee that the money's still gonna be there.
Why not?
Who
Fund
knows?
balance, right?
Who knows? Maybe
Is there a
maybe the town hall
disadvantage
burns
to
down and
splitting
we
it
have to
two,
build a new one.
Or
Who
you just wanna get
knows?
it done and forget about it?
Yeah, I wanna get done, forget about it. I don't want anyone else to
I
steal
agree.
some of the good meeting.
Steal the money.
Oh.
And I agree, we can ask to be put on a cancellation list. So if somebody cancels, then,
So,
we get to go sooner.
is this conversation time?
Yes.
I'm smiling, Joe.
I know, I am too.
So what I do want to actually address you, I've been trying to get up to speed on the main statutes and municipal stuff. The select board is responsible for capital reserve funds. You guys are the trustees, I know you know that. Actually, in statute, you guys are the ones responsible for investing it. So I don't know where you're at with that, but this money that we're talking about can go into a CD for 2 years or whatever. I would certainly hope you guys would do something like that.
There has been some talk about taking some of this money and investing it. We haven't gotten that far with that conversation, but yeah, it is always an option we have to take this additional funds that we have and allocate them into some sort of better investment.
I think you should do that soon.
Yeah.
Compared to what they have been.
Go ahead, I'll call on you, he's
Okay.
ready.
Do we need to sign now to get on for 2027? Sign,
So there's only one bid.
But if they keep filling up, and then we go in next year, I guess what I'm trying to say is we put the 220 aside, and we tell them we want to do it, do we sign the contract now, and if yes, how much money do we put down? I'm in favor of the full
Right.
220, whatever it is, but
We will need to award that fairly quickly. Typically, you've got like 30 days to award it. So Donna's looking it over right now. Well, I mean, it's one bid, she's very familiar with the company, but she just wants to look it over. And I'm assuming the board's gonna wanna look at it too, and maybe meet with the company. But yeah, I mean, there was one bid, it's kinda like the solid waste bid, you either go with it or you don't. And then you find another way of.
any money down if we sign with
They,
them?
when they get started, which if they're gonna complete it in 27, they may get started in 26, so they may need some money to get started, absolutely.
But there's not a deposit to
But you've
hold the
got,
job or.
I haven't
place.
looked at the bid, Donna has all 5, so she's
I
taking.
thought you got
note of
one.
it. Well, there was one bid, but there are 5 copies of the same
Oh.
proposal, she just took them.
Yeah, that was
Because
confusing
the board
me
gets
too.
one, so she'll look it over and,
So
she'll get back to us.
Once Donna's done with her assessment, then they'll come and bring it to the board, and we'll take a look at it ourselves, or have the company come in, talk to us, and then the number is what it is.
I'm in favor of doing it, I was just curious if we had to have X amount available in advance or whatever, but.
You got 60 now, so if you put the other aside, you'll have plenty to, yeah.
And I think the conversation about the church was to move it from the capital improvement column to the community service donation fund. But I agree, when I'm looking at the numbers, I don't see that we made a number change.
Well, you were right about the column, there's no budget column versus select board column.
Right.
So I was confusing that, which is why they didn't change it on their end, and why I changed it on mine. So, but I wanted to look at our numbers.
So you put it in,
So the
where
number,
did you put the church, Neil, in your,
it came out completely.
Right, I thought we took it out.
okay.
Well,
So you didn't
but
move
it didn't come out of the budget because the 99,800 number on townwide was the 516 originally recommended. 516,836. And in your budget, it hasn't changed. That's still there. So I don't know how they're gonna do this when it comes to the warrant, but if they're different, that number's gonna have to be, there'll be 2 numbers, obviously. So I changed that number to 5,
I don't know where you are, you know.
it's on page 14 on the budget. Townwide, it's called the townwide. That's where they're transferring out the capital funds, capital reserve funds.
Town, I'm not seeing town hall.
page 14 or 15, very last line.
Okay. The 516 number that's in there?
516.
Second to last line.
Okay.
516, yeah.
That's the number that Mark is using to transfer, to expense the capital stuff. So we changed that number. Budget committee changed that number, we took out the church,
Right,
and we added 80 grand.
right.
So that number's now 587,
293.
293.
Yep,
That's what I have in my spreadsheet.
yep, that's correct.
So,
Now you're.
the Union Church is not in
A
there.
bit more.
What's that?
And you're moving it back up?
Yeah, we want to make it,
Another 20,000,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
we haven't done that yet. But Union Church is not in there is my point, Jill, that's all I'm saying.
Right.
So are you, at the end of the day, are you looking to go 29,543? Because the Union Church isn't in there, so you added 20 grand to the assessment.
I don't know.
Oh, okay, I was just.
Yeah, I don't know. I voted for the Union Church money just because we said we give it to them, but, we were time voting it. I don't remember the record, I don't remember why. I don't even know if we can open that up now, actually, if we can do it.
Well, I think we can because it's tied into the change of the revaluation information that came in, so I think we can.
Yeah, but we can choose to re-vote on that tonight, on what we want.
On the Union Church,
No, on the whole transfer.
On the whole amount.
we,
The whole
well, we
transfer.
voted on them as line items.
No, we voted to last meeting, we voted to transfer from the fund balance 580,000. So we can now change that vote.
But that's different, those are different items.
No, we just didn't include the Union Church.
No, those are different items. That single handout that they gave us, this one here, with the capital reserve stuff on it. I think we had this discussion, and Joe, I don't know if you were here, but maybe Rich was. We debated whether, we asked whether these were going to be individual items on the warrant, individual articles. And they are going to be.
Which one?
Yeah,
Public works, fire department, all these things.
Yes.
yeah, those will be,
So the Union Church is going to be a separate article.
yes, it is.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So I thought we voted on them individually, maybe we didn't, I don't remember. We did not.
On the total.
Oh, we did, okay,
Eight good.
kept it simple.
Yes, we did. Right.
I'm not sure that they knew whether it was gonna be separate articles or not.
Yeah, we
I'm
had
not
a
sure
discussion,
Rich
but Rich
knew.
didn't
Okay.
commit.
Rich didn't know.
It was-
So do we know now?
Anyway,
Did you
we
say
took out
yes,
Union
they are?
Church.
We haven't gone through all the detail, but yes, it looks like they would have to be separate articles
Which one of these?
for the, yeah.
Because I know that I had recommended that it was not, so that you weren't pitting public works against fire department, things like that.
Right.
That it was just one amount with an explanation of where the money's going.
You don't trust your fellow citizens to do the right thing.
It's a headache that we don't need that day. It's not a matter of trust or anything, it's just a headache that we don't need that day.
If somebody wants the detail of it, we can explain what it includes.
All right, so with those two considerations, the new cost for the revaluation and Union Church money, we now need to discuss what we would like to propose to be line 99,8,500 is a transfer out.
Well,
If we want to stick with our original amount of 580, do we want to adjust that because of the new reval cost? Do we want to reconsider the church?
Or do we need another meeting once we know whether they're separate warrant articles or not? Because that's what we're supposed to be voting on, is warrant articles, not amounts.
According to Jerry's timeline, we're not allowed another meeting.
well, you can have some, take as many meetings as you need to get it done, yeah. I mean, we gotta get, putting that warrant together. I can't put a warrant together unless I have numbers to put to it, so that's,
Right, but I'm just, maybe I'm getting too technical, but I thought we were supposed to be voting on warrants. So
That's
we
what our
need
bylaws say.
guidelines of if these are gonna be individual warrants, or is this going to be a transfer out warrant?
Why don't we go ahead and do our vote as if it's individual articles? And then if they decide not to do it as individual articles, they just take that total amount, and that will be our recommendation.
That probably is
We can do
the
that.
way to do it, yeah. Okay.
So now we're going back to the.
So we have two questions. Do we want to include Union Church, and do we want to do the full 2 million? Personally, I'm in favor of both.
Yeah, so if we're gonna break this down by each, we'll address
Okay, we'll
those.
get there.
Yeah, let's just go down the list, and we'll discuss and
Oh, okay.
vote when we do that.
Okay.
Question?
No, motion.
Oh, I
You
was
want
gonna
to say
introduce
it
each
first?
request.
Go ahead.
So going down the list of requests for the 2024 capital reserve, the select board is recommending for public works the amount of $205,000.
So moved.
Ooh, I like that.
Second.
All right, so let's see, for the same
I'm gonna
amount.
learn this terminology.
Same amount. Budget committee, so it's been moved by, okay. I don't know where to write this. It's been moved by Alan and seconded by
Neil.
Neil.
Neil?
Yes.
Oh, we beat you to it.
They both beat me to it.
All right, that we
She had good intentions.
approve the request of $205,000 transferred to the capital reserve account for public works. Discussion. I don't know if I stated that right.
That's correct. You're correct.
Okay. No discussion, seeing none, we'll put it to a vote. The motion is to move $205,000 to the public works capital reserve account. All those in favor? And that's unanimous, 8-0.
7. So we can just say,
7-0.
Who?
the
Oh,
one that's gone.
Donna left, she's sick.
oh, I'm sorry. Oh. Okay, moving on to the fire department. The select board has recommended transferring $180,000 to the fire department reserve account.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Jill and seconded by Alan to move $180,000 of capital reserve into the fire department capital reserve account. All those in favor? That would be 7-0. All right, administration and buildings, the select board recommendation is to transfer $10,000 into the administration and municipal buildings capital reserve account.
So moved.
It's been moved by Alan and seconded by
Second.
Neil to move $10,000 capital reserve account for administration and municipal buildings. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That would be 7-0. Now we're at assessing. So, yeah, go ahead. Save some time.
I make a motion that we transfer $160,000 from the funds balance to the reevaluation fund.
Just, we had originally,
140.
oh, and now we're making 160, that's 20.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Second. Okay,
So changing 140 to 160, and it was Jill and Ellen the second. It's been, the motion has been made by Jill and seconded by Alan that we move $160,000 from the capital reserve account for assessing. Discussion. Seeing none, we'll vote on the motion to move $160,000 from the capital reserve account for assessing. All those in favor? unanimous, 7-0. Now, grants. Motion?
Mr. Chairman, just a point of order, I guess. Grants and Union Church are not capital reserve accounts. So, just,
So where are they moving the money from?
well, I'm just, they're not capital reserve
They're not
accounts,
gonna
that's
show
all.
those on
Well, I don't know if they're gonna show up. They're not gonna show up in the capital reserve.
Where does the first 21,000, where does the 21,000 that's in the church now, is that not a capital reserve, is that just in their account?
That is a capital reserve, I believe. But this is not gonna be for going into that account. This is gonna be a gift, as I understand it, right?
Well, let's talk about grants first. We're just talking grants.
Yeah, grants are not a capital, it's not a capital reserve fund. That's all I'm saying, it's not, no big deal, we vote on it, but it's not a capital.
Yeah, but we're gonna say where it's coming, where it's
What's that?
coming from and going to.
So it is listed as a capital.
But
All of these are.
would we not have to add the 95
They're
for
restricted.
restricted grants?
But it is a
The
reserve.
church is not in grants now, right?
No, the grants is that, I don't think so. I don't know how they do it.
So it's a restricted account, but it's not, yeah, I mean, I guess it's, yeah, it's probably like a technicality. It's considered a reserve account, but it's under the restricted account.
It's in the same restricted account as your emergency reserves,
Yeah.
your, the assessing reserve.
My only point is statute-wise, you guys don't have any control over it like you do capital reserve accounts.
Very true, right. I'd agree with that. I mean, that might be something we have to look at for next year to separate that out a little differently, but I don't think it.
But if, I'd like to just recommend that we just have one Union Church account of 31,000, whatever it comes out to.
Can't go anything they can do with it.
I don't, yeah.
Well, you have to do, you got 21,000 in whatever account that is now.
Yeah.
You gotta do something with that. What's the difference between 21,000 and adding another 9,500 to that?
We were waiting to hear back from the lawyer, I think is what it was.
Well, yes, the town could say, let's put $95,000 into
9,500.
that, 9,500, sorry. 9,500 into that account to bring it up, but then there'd be another article underneath it to say, transfer that out.
So the article that you can do on Union Church won't cover training. At some point, they're gonna transfer the other 21,000, is what I was gonna say. So what's the difference between 21, whatever's easiest?
I mean, lack of a better word, it's a shell game anyway, that's how you look at it. We're looking for the easiest way to just move that for a donation. So we can't necessarily donate directly from that fund.
I got you.
We have to donate from basically the general fund, from the undesignated fund.
And how does this tie into grants?
It doesn't.
So that's. Let's go back to grants. Yeah, please.
Well, aren't you gonna put the $9,500 in grants?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. Donations, whatever.
But the question was whether grants should be included under capital reserve. Is that correct? If not, where is it going?
It's not a capital reserve account. You don't know what it is. It's irrelevant at this point. We just.
What do you guys have it listed as? What did you say it was? It was
Grants matching reserve. It's under the restricted amounts. Well, actually, it isn't the restricted here.
So it's under the
It's under the committed amounts.
committed amounts, yeah. They're a dedicated reserve account.
Is that the budget
Yep.
summary?
Yeah, it's 15 and 15.
15, yeah.
So,
It's a matching reserve, so you don't know what it's gonna be used for.
Grants though, for grants, like for instance, like the chief is getting some radios, he needs like 20,000 to be able to get that, he'll get it back. Rather than taking that out of his operational budget, you take it out of that, and then we'll replenish it back when we get it.
It's like a rotatable
Right.
pool,
So
basically.
you talking the grant, the matching reserve?
Yes.
Line
See,
71?
right, that 27077,
Yep.
what we're asking here is just to make it, just to get it up to around number of 30,000. Try and keep it there, so when he uses that 20 and we put it back and it still stays at 30, I know they're going, both him and Calvin are going after another safety grant, which is a matching grant. It's a $5,000, so it's 2,500. So if that comes out, next year perhaps we'll ask to put 2,500 back in the grants to keep that at $30,000 level. That's the idea.
So I make a motion to transfer from the funds balance $2,293 to the
Grants matching reserve.
hang on, grants matching reserve committed account. That should cover us for all of our work, right?
I'll second it. So it's been moved and seconded that we transfer $2,293 to the grants matching reserve fund. Discussion?
So now we're moving 600,000, correct? From the fund balance?
Depends on where we end. I'm keeping a running tally.
Any further discussion? So the motion is to transfer $2,293, I guess, from capital reserve to the committed reserve of the grants matching reserve, the committed grants matching reserve fund.
It's from the fund balance.
All right, from the fund balance, transfer $2,293 from the fund balance to the grant matching reserve fund.
Page 15.
All those in favor? All those opposed? 7-0. Okay, now we discuss the Union Church. Can you, just a question, can you remind me where did the figure 9,500, I know about the $21,000 they've already raised. How was it decided that we should give them a round figure of 31,000? Because I know that's how you came up with the 95.43, but what was it, where did the 31,000?
It was last year during public meeting, they rose, I believe Lois raised $10,000 on the floor.
Yep.
So when it just came time to budget this year, we made it an even $31,000 rather than make it
So that,
21,000 or 31,000.
the 10,000 didn't get transferred into a reserve
It did
fund.
not, that was raised on the floor.
It was raised and it went back into the
Went
general
back
fund.
into the general fund.
So we're trying to now just give back the money that the town approved last
Exactly.
year.
We just evened it out and gave them back that money, that's the idea.
Yep. Welcome a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we transfer from the general fund $9,543 to where, Joe? Are we moving it?
79?
The Union Church Restoration Reserve
Is that
Fund.
where we want to put it?
Yes.
Wait a minute, 1 second.
And the intent is, if the church goes to the historic committee, that we give this money to them.
The intent is to put this question for $31,000 as a donation out to the Historical Society, if the motion passes for transfer of the church.
So we have a motion, do we have a second? So the motion's been made by Neil and seconded by Alan that we transfer $9,543 from the general fund to the Union Church Restoration Reserve Fund. Further discussion? Seeing none, let's vote on the motion to transfer $9,543 from the general fund to the Union Church Restoration Reserve Fund. All those in favor? All those opposed? 6-1. Okay, and now we're up to the Eureka Reserve. We were in agreement last time. Is there a motion?
I think you gotta say it, and we'll just say so, right?
So, we previously voted to transfer $50,000 even from the from the general fund to the Eureka Capital Reserve Fund.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? We already voted, so.
On that one.
We didn't vote, because we voted on the big, we
Oh,
voted
sorry,
on the
so
total.
we gotta do a vote. All right, so, the motion is to transfer $50,000 from the, capital reserve, or general fund, to the, Durham Eureka Capital Reserve Fund. All those in favor? All those opposed? Unanimous, so that would be 7-0. All right, I believe we got through everything.
Yeah, so that means the total for 99-8500 would be $617,293. 205 to Public Works, 180 to Fire Department, 10,000 to Municipal Building, 160 for reevaluation, $2,293 to Grant Match, 50,000 to Eureka, and 10,000, or not, oh, I said 10,000, whoops. It's not 10,000, is it?
9543.
Thank you.
I have 816,836. 616,836.
That's what I got.
That's what I,
Say it again, Neil?
616,836.
616, 836. 836. 616, 836.
Mr. Chair, we need a vote on the total so that if select board decides not to do it individually, we bless the total. If that makes any sense, just a wasted step, but it's, we don't have to come back and vote for 16.
So you want to have like an alternative vote in
Just a total amount for it. They
Just to
don't want to do,
confirm
if
that
they
we-
decide to roll them up as one, we bless the total.
Yeah, just so they know.
So this is a transfer out.
This is transfer, this is the total of what we've been talking about here.
Jerry, what, when we vote on, when we do what John is requesting, just what does the select board now need to do to meet its goal of a 0%, of a flat rate for the municipal budget?
That will depend on where they land with these numbers. So I mean, I really can't answer that unless I know how they're gonna vote. If they vote everywhere where, same with me and you do, I'd have to plug it in and see what that number is.
Didn't we vote on that number last time? That transfer?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
The last,
We voted 580 for the transfer.
Right.
exactly.
And now we're voting 616, 836.
No,
Well, not
No,
necessarily.
it's two different items.
Well, I don't know, why not? Because, well, we were going to, originally, we had the discussion, do we just vote on the total amount, which is now John proposing, or do we vote on each individual account in case they make that into separate articles, and then all we gotta do is total them up, and that would be the
but
total.
those two numbers aren't directly connected, though.
Right, fund balance and transfer out are two different lines.
Got
I
it.
guess I'm missing the boat on that.
The $500,000 originally proposed by the select board, Jerry, was a way to limit the mill rate increase.
Correct.
Not directly connected to the capital funding.
Correct.
They're similar numbers, but they just happen to be close, that's all.
It-
Can
When,
let Jerry-
when I put the numbers in from your last meeting, your transfer result was 587,293, but your transfer out of fund balance was just 580, so they're not exactly the same. I think if you wanted to try and make it the same, you would add what you added today to that number, which I think is that 29,435, right? 'Cause that's all you've added.
Well, the fund balance is supposed to
No, we added.
pay for the increases in the operating budget too.
Well,
Yeah, and two, I think it's really important that you all, this zero that we're all trying to get to and get to that same mill rate, that's still a projection. So
Right.
you really won't know until the commitment is done, the evaluation is
Right.
done. So they still can move a little bit here and there, so,
Yeah.
you know, it's
But based on what we have on paper, that's our best
projection.
projection for where to get that at 0%.
Right.
The municipal side.
So if we want to keep the same zero mill rate, we have to add 28,475, which is what we raised, or what we voted on today, which was Jerry's number, which was Jerry's request, and the 9,543, right, that was what your, Union Church?
9,543, yes.
And 100,000, right? 100,000 in the,
Assessing.
yeah.
Assessing was additional 20.
Well, they had 60 in there originally.
But we raised it just down to 160.
So it's an additional 60 on top of the fund balance.
No, they had 60 in the number already. Right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had the 60 in it, and he also had the 9,543.
So I come up with, we've increased the budget today, $138,018.
Can you give me the numbers that make 180 again, please?
28,475 is what Jerry requested for increases. You didn't give him everything he asked for, but it was close.
Oh, okay, so instead of the 33,875, he's getting 28,475?
That's what we voted on today.
All right.
Plus the extra 20 in the,
20,000 for the evaluation.
It's actually an extra 60,000 because the select board didn't vote on any of our recommendation changes. So looking at the fund balance, it's actually an extra 60 over what
Yeah,
the
that's-
town manager proposed.
Yeah, from what we voted on, correct.
But the church was already in there for the town manager's budget.
But not for ours, so, okay, so, then, if I change, they had 20,000, the 9,543, Jerry's request, 28,475, we have $58,000, which we would need to add to our 580,
580 plus 58,
right?
thank you. That makes it 638.
28,475 is what we increased tonight, is what Jerry requested.
Yeah.
$60,000 for the reval,
Well, we actually had $100,000,
we got it $100,000.
but we already had 80,
Yeah.
we already had 80 in the 580 for what we recommended the first time.
Right.
Last week we recommended $580,000.
Doesn't,
Starting at,
we don't count last week's number, that, we're doing a new vote, so we don't count last
Starting
week's
at the
number.
town manager's 500,000, what is the budget committee adding and subtracting?
138.
Okay, so you're confident in that number. I trust you, Neil, so I'm just verifying you're confident in that number.
If we're starting with the $500,000 we were originally presented with,
Right.
we're increasing that transfer by 138,000.
To keep in
Oh,
Hobart
wait a
theory,
minute.
the mill rate unchanged.
I guess we can take the Union Church out of that, right?
Well, we did
Right.
originally.
Because the,
But the 500,000 already covered the Union Church.
correct.
So it's really just the 28,000 we did today, and the $100,000 for,
I'm not following you. $500,000 is what the initial request was.
Right.
We took out the Union Church.
But tonight we did a vote,
but the two numbers, they're not connected.
No, they're not.
Okay,
All we're really dealing with is what we want to transfer to keep the budget down. They
okay.
can play with the numbers, make whatever they want. We're just making a recommendation, right?
All right, so
I
what,
wish it could be more verbiage to say, we're making a recommendation that our tax rate doesn't go to shit.
so
You figure out.
I gotta list out those
On the
numbers.
municipal,
500,000 is what we started with.
Yeah,
Then I have a number of 28,475
Which we raised tonight.
increased tonight. All right, then I have 160,000 for the revale.
$100,000 we raised tonight.
because we had originally 60.
right, 60,000 was from last meeting. The 100,000's in this number, this is 60,000 from the last meeting.
And the 60,000 is already in the 500,000, so it's really,
So what's the number for the revale?
the total number we're raising is 160.
160,000.
160,000 for the revale. And then there was a fourth number? Or, that's it, so it's a total of 500,000 plus 28,475 plus 160,000? That's the total that we're transferring?
We can make that number whatever we want, they can make whatever they want. You got a recommendation?
628, 475.
Okay.
Should cover it. Should cover your,
628, 475.
because you had 580, right? And then you voted on, do I have it? 28,475, right?
That was the overuse.
Right. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can
Yeah,
recommend.
So what you guys did was,
So,
on these budget estimates, you accepted, you increased it 28,475 compared to what the select board had, which was 38,875. You went to 375,000 for solid waste. You did not accept the
We know all that, Joe.
change, yeah. And so then, on top of that, increasing
The
the
assessing
assessing by another 20, that adds an extra 20,000 to that 28,475, bringing what you added up to 48,475. And then you, on top of the 580 that you had already budgeted, which is different than our number, because we just haven't added in the assessing contract, because we were not gonna vote on that, knowing that we're getting that again. So you should add that 48,475 to the 580 to square the circle, you know, there.
I make a motion that we use, out of the fund balance, $628,475 to pay for this budget.
I'll second it.
So it's been, the motion by Jill, which is seconded by John, was that we transfer $628,475 from the general fund towards the 2024 budget.
Can you remind me again what the general fund budget balance currently is?
On the last page,
Should be on the last page, is that what you said?
3,007.
Thank you.
Where do you see that now?
Page 15.
Top line.
So I'm gonna have to double check my numbers, but what I have is a 10.4% increase over last year's budget. Actual spending.
Budget versus
Right.
but that's based on,
The latest actual numbers that Jerry gave us.
That's not school, county,
Oh,
yeah, be careful here, I want to,
I increased the school and county to 5% over last year. Last year's actual.
that's with the school.
Yeah, I did increase those. I just did it for my own interest.
All right, but the municipal budget itself went up by how much? based on what we're, because I think we had about 4.9%. Sorry, 6.8.
That's the budget.
Sorry. I just want to make sure we're talking 6.5%.
With our budget.
For this budget, right? For the budget we I just don't want people to
I think the municipal budget's around 4%. I'm looking at your Excel sheet. You have 4.29% for the municipal budget summary.
Well, they don't break it out separately. They have
Under-
total funding for,
And the budget summary, total funding sources.
Yeah, the percentage, I guess my point is the percentage is, I get what you're saying, that we add everything together, but we don't know some of those numbers. I agree with you that probably 5% is probably a good number to use.
But the only thing that's saving us from not killing the taxpayers is transferring these funds.
yeah, this is not a skinny budget, is my point.
No.
This is a very healthy budget.
It is.
We have a spending problem in this country, in this town, in the state, and we're doing it today, we're doing it right now. We're spending a lot of money. There's no restraint whatsoever, as near as I can say,
But does your numbers include the money we transferred but we're not spending this year? The stuff that's going to the reserve?
the transfers got nothing to do with it. It's what we're at, the budget's what it is.
But we're transferring money, $205,000 for public works.
I'm just talking about what we're spending.
We're not
Transferring-
spending this year. That
We
is
haven't
the
spent it.
reserve to buy, we'll spend it later, but we're just putting it into a.
We're still spending it. We're spending it,
Well, we're still paying it.
it's coming out
I
of
see
the
that
reserve.
as
Right.
transfer from one savings account to another.
The budget's going up 10%.
I guess what
I mean, I just-
John's
just-
asking is, does that include the amount of money that we put into capital reserves?
That, the capital reserves comes out of that number to reduce the mill rate, to reduce the increase. Not the capital reserves, the transfer
Right.
comes out of that number.
But your 10%, does that include the capital reserves transfers?
No, the capital, yes,
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. The spending,
Okay.
yeah.
Because I think that's, in my mind, is a little misleading, because we have on average been raising money to put into capital reserves every year. And this year, we're not raising any money to do it, we're just moving from one savings account to another savings account. With the hopes that by doing it this way, we don't need to raise it down the road.
I think he understands that, but what he's saying is we're still utilizing those funds.
At some point, we're not gonna be able to do
Correct,
transfers.
we're not gonna have that fund balance.
Yeah,
Well,
I agree
with
there.
that, but I think it's misleading, whatever the right term is, to say we're putting $385,000 in public works and fire department, but we're not spending it this year. To me, that's not spent, that's just moved from, my Fort Sill savings account to
But if
my.
we didn't have the cushion we have, we'd be raising in taxes.
Oh, I agree.
No, I don't think we'd be even transferring that amount.
Well, no.
Conversation of putting that much into capital reserve wouldn't have even been a discussion.
No, we're in a good position. I'm not complaining, I'm just
Right.
pointing out the fact that we're spending a lot of money.
I just argue that we're not spending it, we're transferring it from one savings account to another. That's my argument.
We'll spend it sooner or later.
Yes, I don't
That's
argue
right,
that, we're saving
but
it.
hopefully it saves us later because we've saved it
They have to
now.
buy a new truck.
Is there any more discussion on the motion?
What motion? What motion?
We have a motion on the floor to,
Use $628,475 from the fund balance
to offset
for
taxes.
our budget to offset taxes.
I just have a quick, do you have a number? We should agree on this number. I think, so we have to back and forth on this.
The number is based on a calculation.
Yeah, I know that, but it's just a number. It doesn't have to be 628. Do you have one you prefer?
No, I
I think
think
he's
that
gonna
that
have-
represents the number that the budget committee is recommending to the select board, and then we'll have to consider it tomorrow night based on, if we agree with your numbers, then that is the number, right? If we change it, then it'll be a different number. So,
That's the
I mean, you
thing
can
that's,
give us more money to work with if you'd like.
I think that's the thing that's hard over, instead of saying we're gonna transfer and raise for each warrant amount by saying a lump sum at the end, it's a shuttle game or whatever you wanna call it, because that, unless you can magically change the warrant number on the floor, which it's hard, we have had a hard enough time following it. I doubt we'll be able to follow it at town meeting, but,
Mr. Chair, I just like to say that, so the individual items are what we'll all vote on, and at the end of that, there's gonna be a number that we're gonna make a recommendation to transfer over to cover the various items. So whatever that number turns out to be, will be, you know, the addition of these plus other items.
to keep the
that change.
municipal tax rate flat.
Exactly, I mean, that's how that'll be worded, right? Those will be separate items, so I think you calculating out this, having this number here that was calculated out is probably a good number moving forward, and then what we put in the article will be the actual number that, once all this dust settles on what we decide tomorrow night.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Any further discussion? So the motion up for a vote is to transfer $628,475 from the general fund to offset taxes projected for the 2024 budget.
The general fund has requested a name change to fund balance.
Fund balance. All right. All those in favor? All those opposed? So 7-1.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I have a question for Jerry. What happened to unassigned and assigned funds? We don't seem to be seeing those any place now.
So that's your fund balance. Remember when Mark came in here? He
I
said-
do remember very well.
Yeah, so that's,
So, general fund is now assigned and unassigned?
yes.
We're not gonna use assigned and unassigned anymore?
No, he pulls all the capital out, so it's really one fund. Just as he explained in that meeting.
He didn't explain that in the meeting. He said that, he talked about assigned and unassigned funds. And at the end of the year, the assigned fund goes back to the unassigned.
So it's on page.
I'm just curious, if we're not using assigned funds and unassigned funds anymore?
That's the fund balance. He grouped them into the same,
Yeah. If you look at page 15, they did get reworded. You have general fund, which is the unassigned, and then you have total restricted, total committed, which is the assigned.
No, it's not. You have restricted and committed funds listed there specifically. The general fund is now combined assigned and unassigned.
But that still doesn't reach the 3.7, so I can't help you with this handout.
Yeah,
Sorry, I thought I could.
Line 1's 3.7. The general fund is 3.7 million.
Are you looking at the handout that the town manager gave us for tonight's meeting, or are you looking at a different handout?
I'm looking at the original one.
The original one?
Oh, I didn't look at the new one.
If you, yeah, I'm looking at page 15, and line 1 is 3.7
Yeah.
general fund, which used to be the unassigned, is what you want to call it. And everything below that, from ARPA fund down to Union Church, is reserved, and then there were different
So, yeah, so,
definitions. So I think what used to be the unassigned money was line 02 down to line
79.
No, it's not true. He's telling me what those are. The total restricted fund is 02 to 09, that's the restricted fund.
Yes.
The committed fund is 70 to 79.
Which that was our assigned funds. That's
So,
what used to be
no.
called assigned funds.
If you look at the auditor's report, there's 4 funds listed. Committed and restricted, assigned and unassigned.
I have that.
I'm not complaining, I'm just asking a question.
Yeah.
What happened to assigned and unassigned funds? The committed and restricted funds are separate from assigned and unassigned.
Right, yes, correct.
So what happened to assigned and unassigned, is all I'm asking.
Right, it's right there in the fund balance line.
I don't see a fund balance, I see general fund.
General fund.
Well, all right, well,
That was previously unassigned.
No. The general fund, if you look at the auditor's report, the general fund has 4 accounts in it. Remember the
Restricted, committed,
I don't know.
unassigned,
Unassigned.
and assigned. So anything, wait a minute, so we're not saying assigned.
I'm saying the general fund is now combined, assigned and unassigned, both assigned and unassigned are now one fund. And I'm just wondering why,
And Jerry's answer?
because no.
Perhaps
If the 3.7 includes assigned funds, that means they've already been assigned for some purpose.
They don't get assigned to the budget was passed, that's my understanding.
Perhaps it's
From an
a,
accounting perspective, they don't get assigned to the budget passed.
Neil,
We don't have a budget in place.
perhaps this is a question you can email to Jerry and he can get the answer from Mark.
Yeah.
That's probably the easiest way to do it, since Mark knows how we put this together.
Any other
I
business?
second, but you don't want to talk about it.
Any other business to come to the budget committee? So what would be the scenario, Jerry, that you see that this committee would need to meet another time?
Once the select board, gets to their final numbers, if they're any different,
Typically, in the past, what we present to you would be our numbers, and if the select board chose different numbers, and that's how it would be presented on the warrant.
Right.
right,
Okay.
but you don't want another chance to make them the same?
No,
Okay.
why do we need that? I mean, sometimes we do, some years we do, and there are other years we don't.
That's up to you folks.
Well, it's up to the select board to agree with the budget committee.
There you go. Got your punching orders.
I'll welcome a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
All those in favor? Thank you, everybody. This is a great committee this year.
Please turn your mics off and put them on that table over there. You have to hold it down, by the way.
Well,
No, I mean, are you going to decide on your numbers tomorrow night? Is that the plan? Are you going to take this year? No, you did well.
Yeah.